Now, everybody knows that in order to find the best uniques in Diablo 2, you gotta farm those high-level terror zones or those 85 areas and farm the champions, right? Right? Now, a lot of Diablo 2 veterans will know that it is not exactly true that the best possible unique items are always only found in the late game areas. Actually, some of the best in slot gear choices for a lot of the most powerful end game builds can be found incredibly early. They're actually very low level items. So today we're taking a look at the absolute best unique items that are incredibly low level. Now, obviously for this type of list, you have to put your cutoff somewhere. So the cutoff is going to be if an item can literally be found in normal difficulty, it can make this list. Now, we're not going to count normal terror zones because that kind of throws a wrench into the whole process, to be perfectly honest. But if an item can be found from literally any monster in normal difficulty, even if it's just one monster, it can go ahead and make this list. Now, the very first one we're taking a look at is the one right here, and that is Mage Fist. Now, what types of builds is this going to be used on? Well, as you can see up at the top, the very first thing on these gloves, 1-2 fire skills. So for any of the fire builds, this is going to be usually best in slot. Getting up those skills higher, dealing out more damage. I mean, it's absolutely key, absolutely crucial in Diablo 2. On top of that, there's only a couple of gloves in the entire game that have FCR, and this is one of those. So really, almost any of the sorceresses, any casters in the entire game, this is going to be an absolute great option. And then on top of that, it also has down at the bottom there, 25% faster regenerate mana. Obviously going to be a great option for any of the characters in this game, getting more mana regen. That's what you need in order to cast your spells, so you're obviously going to want it to regenerate faster. And then just as a proof, you can definitely find these in normal difficulty. You can take a look at any of these from particular monsters, but we'll just go ahead and look at right here from normal Diablo kill. We're looking at players 1 difficulty with no magic finding normal, and you got a 1 in 728 chance of finding Mage Fist from each one of those Diablo kills. And as we scroll down, you can see there's quite a few other monsters that can indeed drop these Mage Fists. Next up, we're going with another one that's going for those casters, and that's the just absolutely amazing Stone of Jordan. Now, this can be used really as a great item on pretty much almost any character in the entire game. Once again, we've got 1 to all skills, so you don't necessarily need, like the Mage Fist had to be 1 to fire skills, but for the Stone of Jordan, this works for literally any character, any ability type. You get 1 to just every skill you got. Now, on top of that, it's obviously got more stuff that is great for the caster, as most people know. You got 20 to mana, and here, once again, you got another thing helping out your mana, increase maximum mana 25%. And now, just as an example of like a build that this is obviously going to be best in slot, and there's a ton of them, but definitely for types of energy shield sorceresses that increase maximum mana, the mana is your life because of the way energy shield works. So you get even more survivability off of that increased maximum mana. Of course, with the all skills as well. And now, once again, for proof of concept, we got the same thing, normal difficulty right here. We've got players 1 difficulty right up above my head, no magic find, and just as an example, once again, we'll take a look at the Diablo drop odds. So right here, we have Diablo, and in normal difficulty, you have a 1 in 9,000 chance of finding the SOJ. Now, there's definitely better, faster, easier ways of finding a Stone of Jordan, but this one is just an example. Really, in Nightmare, you're going to have a better opportunity. And as we scroll down, the odds are pretty dang low, but you can see there's actually a ton of different monsters in just normal difficulty that can drop the Stone of Jordan. Now, we can't let the casters have all the fun. Let's go ahead and take a look at an item for those melee characters, and you see them right up on the screen over there, and that is the Goblin Toes. Now, for the boot slots, I mean, different rare boots could have hit recovery or all different resistances, things like that. But if you want to really bump up your damage, one of the best ways to do it is to get more crushing blow on your melee characters. And where's a great place to get it? We're looking at the boots. Now, the Goblin Toes, this is the most crushing blow definitely you can get on boots. There is, of course, Gore Riders that have, I believe, 15%. But if you want to really maximize that damage, you can get the 25% chance of crushing blow on the Goblin Toes. Now, besides that crushing blow, I mean, there's essentially nothing else on here that helps you out really much at all. But it is so crazy powerful to get that 25% chance of crushing blow. It really kind of overrides any other benefit you can get on a lot of other boots for melee characters. One of the most common builds to use this one right here is the Uber Smiter. It's just a Smiter Paladin that, smite hits every single time. So every time you're making contact, your 25% chance of having crushing blow happen. Crushing blow, instead of taking like a set amount of damage, it actually takes a percentage of the remaining life on that monster. So even if you're incredibly budget, incredibly early on, you have a very, very like meh a super low level smiter, when you're blasting away on those Ubers, on a declone, or literally any monster has a large health pool, you're really dealing out an astronomically large amount of damage. That's what makes these things so powerful. And then once again, we're taking a look at, can you really actually find these in normal difficulty, Phil? You absolutely can. The same exact setup I had before. We'll just take a look at Diablo once again for the similar example. 1 in 720 Diablo kills to find yourself Goblin Toes. And once again, as we scroll down, this is another one you can find from a ton of just different random champions and monsters in normal difficulty. Next up, we have an item that is incredibly powerful, but it's only used on one character and essentially only one build. But it is my go-to whenever I rock this character, and that is Titan's Revenge. Now, it not only has those javelin spear skills, it's got Amazon skills. Crazy enough, actually, your weapon, it has more faster run walk on it. So that's pretty cool right there, getting you to move around faster. Because even if you have Enigma on a teleporting Javazon, the cast frames are rough. So a lot of times people just run around with Amazons, and this does help you out with that. You got even more stuff on there to help you out. You got a big monstrous amount of life leech, 9%. So every one of those javelins that does hit, you're leeching life back if you ever do lose any. You got strength and dex on there, and ever important, you have replenish quantity. So that way you can generally avoid having to run over to Charcy to repair your javelins over and over again. And like I mentioned, Lightning Fury Javazon, this is absolutely a go-to. You're out there in cows just chucking javelins left and right. Having the replenish quantity on there really does save you a little bit of time, but really a lot of hassle that I don't feel like ever dealing with to have to go repair them. Now, with the exact same setup I've been using before to show where this can be found, you can see this list is incredibly short for Titans, but you can technically find it in normal difficulty. So it made the list. You can see right here, really the only monsters that you're going to normally be fighting that you can find it from here. We've got Lister, Neelathak, and Bale. So just like essentially the three most powerful monsters in Act 5. Beyond that, you're probably going to have to go find it in Nightmare difficulty. But like I said, technically, you could find this in normal. Now we're going to jump back to another amazing item for those melee characters, and we're taking a look at the String of Ears. Now, the belt slot can be kind of an incredibly weak slot, especially for those melee characters, casters quite often. Later game anyways, you want to get that Arachnus Mesh, probably pretty obvious, but what are you going to do with your belt slot? Well, a lot of times for endgame builds, even for me, I go with these String of Ears here. You've got 8% life leech on a belt, pretty dang good, and a pretty sizable up to 15% damage reduced. Now, being a melee character, getting right up in the mix of things, obviously getting your physical damage reduced is gonna be crucial. And just for a couple of examples of different melee builds that you probably could want to use this on, you're gonna talk about things like probably the Zealer and even something like a Frenzy Barb. And this definitely could be another great option or even a Whirlwind Barbarian. Now, how common is this actually to be found in normal difficulty? Let's go ahead and take a look. Once again, we've got Diablo. It's a 1 in 3,000 chance, so not particularly common there. But as we scroll down, once again, this is a pretty dang long list of monsters you can find it from. A ton of just normal champion monsters in normal difficulty, so you really kind of might have a decent chance of finding this in normal difficulty. Now, that Stone of Jordan, let's be honest, probably one of the best low-level items that you can find, even in normal difficulty. But this one is sliding in probably at second, in my opinion, and that is the skin of the Viper Magi. This is going to be amazing, absolutely amazing for any of the casters in the entire game. And let's be honest, we pretty much all know that as we're talking about most powerful for general going out there and killing monsters, the casters reign supreme. So on the skin of the Viper Magi, we've got 1 to all skills, 30 FCR, absolutely amazing right there already. But hey, don't stop just yet, because as we go a little bit further down, we've got up to 35 all resistance on the Viper Magi. Now, early on, obviously you're going to want to have an Enigma even on a Hammerden later, but like I say, early on, Viper Magi is actually a go-to cheap budget option even for Hammerdens. Now, obviously, then it's going to be absolutely best in slot for a ton of Sorceress builds. The most noteworthy could be one of my favorite builds in the entire game, one of the most powerful, and that is the Energy Shield Nova Sorceress. Now, another thing that helps out even that Energy Shield build is actually, and don't sleep on it, that magic damage reduced. It's kind of a hard, funky way to describe exactly, but it really does actually, after you get the synergy to Energy Shield that minuses the amount of damage that you take, damage reduced and magic damage reduced actually can help out a lot. Now, where are we finding this one in normal difficulty? Well, as we scroll down, there's actually a reasonably large list of monsters here that you can find them from. Most of these are places in Act 5, Act 5, Act 5, but still, a lot of Act 5, it looks like a lot of those champions you can find them from. And once again, for the same example, we'll take a look at Diablo here. So strictly from Diablo, you have a 1 in 3,540 kills chance to find that Viper Magi. And now we'll take a look at another one that really for a ton of endgame builds is the absolute go-to, and that is the Ravenfrost. Yes, folks, you can actually find the Ravenfrost ring in just normal difficulty. Now, a vast majority of the things on this ring are really not used at all on a lot of the builds they go on, but there is a one clutch key thing that is just kind of great to get knocked out of the way at that ring slot, and that is right down at the bottom of the Ravenfrost. That is the cannot be frozen. Now, specifically, you could also get help on those melee characters from the attack rating. You also do have dexterity, making it possible to make contact more often with those characters, and you do have cold absorb, but really getting cannot be frozen, especially on melee characters, is absolutely crucial. Nobody likes being just completely stuck in the mud when you get frozen for long periods of time, attacking super slow, because you don't want to put out even less damage. And also, if you attack slower, that means you're going to be leeching life back even slower, which means actually cannot be frozen, really helping out your survivability. And how long exactly is this list of monsters that can drop the Ravenfrost? Not very long, folks. You just got a few of them right here: Bale, Neelathak, and once again, Lister. That's not a very good chance to find one from Lister, folks, but if you're going to take a look at, we'll say Bale right here, 1 in 1,500 approximately Bale kills. So you probably aren't going to want to go try to farm this up in normal difficulty, but you can actually find it there. So let me know down in the comments if you ever found any of these incredibly useful, unique items in normal difficulty, or if you don't want to do that, just slam some emotes down in the comments or something, you know, for the YouTube algorithm, right? So hope you enjoyed the video. Peace out, fellas, and keep slaying.